Okay guys, imagine an old cellar in Lancaster County, cold and damp. The air smells like earth and stored vegetables. You see crates of potatoes, hanging onions, even apples neatly stacked. Everything seems simple, just a farm family making do. But hidden in one corner, almost out of sight, sits a plain clay bowl. Inside it, a handful of charcoal. This wasn't for warmth. It was part of a powerful, unspoken pact between the Amish and their food. A secret that kept them fed all winter. That simple bowl of charcoal is part of a system that's almost completely forgotten today. And it's a system we could really use back. Let's be honest, how much food do we all end up throwing away? The average household wastes between $1,000 and $2,000 worth of food every single year. Most of that is the fresh stuff. The tomatoes that turn soft, the carrots that get all wrinkly, or the apples that go bad just a few days after you get them home. For years, I just thought that was normal, a part of modern life. But a trip to an Amish farm completely changed my mind. I saw a family eating fresh food all year long, from a garden that only grew for 4 months. They weren't using any special tech. They were using old knowledge. They knew things most of us have forgotten, like why you should never store your apples next to your potatoes. And that charcoal is a huge piece of the puzzle. It's part of the secret that can help you stop wasting food and save a ton of money. So today, we're going to break down exactly how they did it. Okay, so to stop your food from going bad, you have to fight 3 invisible enemies. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. The first one is a gas. A totally invisible gas. Remember what I learned on that Amish farm about never storing apples and potatoes together? Here's why. Apples are constantly releasing something called ethylene gas. Think of it like a chemical signal that tells every other fruit and vegetable around it to ripen, and ripen fast. You put a basket of apples near your potatoes, and that gas will make them sprout weeks earlier than they should. It makes your carrots go soft. It basically puts everything around it into fast-forward mode, straight towards rotting. So the very first rule is to keep your apples away from everything else. The second enemy is a lot more familiar. It's mold and bacteria. These tiny things are everywhere, just waiting for a way in. Any little nick, bruise, or soft spot on a potato or a squash is like an open door. Once they get inside, they cause that soft, mushy rot that spreads like wildfire. This is why curing your vegetables is so important, and it's something most of us never do. Curing is just letting the skins get tough. It lets all those little cuts and scrapes from the harvest seal over, creating a natural armor. I learned this the hard way. One year, I stored my potatoes right after digging them up. A third of them were rotten in 6 weeks. The next year, I cured them properly. They lasted 4.5 months without a single one going bad. It's the same with winter squash. Just 10 days in a warm spot, around 80 degrees, can literally double or triple how long it stays good. The third enemy is water, or more specifically, the wrong amount of moisture in the air. This one is tricky because what's good for one vegetable is a disaster for another. If the air is too damp, your squash will get covered in surface mold. Your onions and garlic will rot in weeks, especially if they're in a bag or a container where moisture gets trapped. They need to be kept dry. But your root vegetables, your potatoes and carrots, they need the exact opposite. They need really high humidity to keep from getting all dry and shriveled. That's why old-timers used to store them layered in boxes of damp sand. So you've got this invisible gas, you've got mold, and you've got moisture. 3 enemies, all working to destroy your food. Okay guys, so how much damage can these invisible enemies really do? It turns out, a lot. The average American family throws away somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 worth of food every single year. And the biggest slice of that pie is fresh produce that just went bad too fast. Let's go back to that ethylene gas for a second. It's not just a small effect. One storage expert laid it out like this. Putting a single bushel of apples next to your potato crates will shorten the life of those potatoes by weeks. That gas is a powerful hormone. It's like a chemical alarm clock that screams, it's time to rot, to everything around it. It's why your carrots go soft and rubbery, and why everything else seems to just melt in the pantry. It's a chain reaction, and the apples are what pull the trigger. Then you have that moisture problem, which is a real balancing act. Too much dampness in the air, and you get that fuzzy white or green surface mold on your winter squash. For onions and garlic, it's even worse. If you keep them in a bag or a container that traps humidity, they'll turn to mush in just a few weeks. They need to stay dry. But on the flip side, if the air is too dry, your root vegetables are doomed. Your carrots and potatoes will shrivel up into sad, wrinkled versions of themselves. This is because they actually need high humidity to survive long-term, somewhere around 85 to 95%. That super damp air keeps them firm and slows down all the biological stuff that causes them to rot from the inside out. This is where the old-timers were just brilliant. They understood this balance perfectly. For example, they'd often store their apples layered with dry maple leaves. And it wasn't just for padding. Those leaves have natural antifungal properties that stop mold, but they also absorb just enough moisture to keep the apple skins from getting sticky without drying them out. It's a whole system, a deep understanding of how to work with nature instead of fighting against it. And it's this thinking that leads us directly to that bowl of charcoal. So how does a simple bowl of charcoal actually pull this off? It's not magic, it's a scientific principle that is incredibly powerful. And it all comes down to one word: adsorption. Now, that sounds like a typo, but it's different from absorption. Absorption is what a sponge does. It soaks water up inside itself. Adsorption is totally different. It's when things stick to the surface of something else. Think of it like a super-powered lint roller for the air. It doesn't soak up the bad stuff, it makes the bad stuff stick to it. And this is charcoal's hidden superpower. If you were to look at a piece of charcoal under a powerful microscope, you wouldn't see a solid block. You'd see a crazy network of tunnels, caves, and tiny little pores. It's like a massive, microscopic honeycomb. Because of all these little nooks and crannies, a small amount of charcoal has a gigantic amount of surface area. Get this, a single gram of the right kind of charcoal can have more surface area than an entire football field. It's absolutely insane. So when that ethylene gas, that stuff from the apples that's making everything rot, floats by, it gets pulled into these tunnels. And it gets stuck. The same thing happens with excess moisture molecules floating in the air. The charcoal acts like a trap, grabbing onto these invisible enemies and holding them tight, pulling them right out of the air. It's not burning them up or changing them chemically. It's just holding them. It cleans the air one molecule at a time, protecting all the other food in the cellar. It's a passive, silent, and incredibly effective air filter. And it's a perfect example of using a deep understanding of nature to create a simple, brilliant solution. It's a whole system. And the number one rule of that system is something most of us get wrong. You have to separate your apples from almost everything else. Think of it this way. Those apples are constantly letting out that ethylene gas we talked about. For other vegetables, that gas is like poison. If you store your potatoes near your apples, that gas will make them start sprouting weeks, or even months, earlier than they should. It'll make your carrots go soft and rubbery. The Amish understood this. They knew that keeping apples separate was one of the most important things they could do to protect the rest of their harvest.